Hi, and welcome to The Leader's Edge. Today, we are talking about a leader's guide to facilitation. And according to the Fountain Institute, the dictionary definition, of facilitation is the process of making something possible or easier. In a work or business context, this definition expands to the act of helping other people to deal with a process or reach an agreement or solution without getting directly involved in the discussion or process. I'm curious, as you listen to that definition, what popped in your mind as a leader of a team, a project, or an organization? How does facilitation, per that definition, align with what you perceive your value is as a leader? And today, so as you ponder that, we are getting a wonderful, wonderful opportunity to talk with Kathrina Loeffler, the Executive Director of the International Association of Facilitators. Welcome, Kathrina.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
We're so happy to have you. And you, Katrina, she'll be sharing with us her perspectives on a leader's guide to facilitation. And I imagine this will cover why leaders like us should adopt and learn how to facilitate and help us to be better and more effective as leaders. And before I ask Georgia, of course, to introduce Katrina on properly, I would like us to kickstart our thinking with this question. So, if you take a moment to reflect on a typical work week on a scale of 1 to 10, how often do you currently facilitate discussions rather than simply lead them? One means you're doing most of the talking, giving information or directives. And 10 means that you're asking questions, encouraging discussion, maybe brainstorming. Remember, we don't judge. The score is just to have you note your current state. So, with that, Georgia, let's get started.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Welcome again to the Leader's Edge. No judgment here this morning. It's about your own growth and development. And Emily and I have the honor of hosting Kathrina Loeffler. And she is an executive leader, an educator, and a facilitator. Most importantly for us, she is a managing director of the International Association of Facilitators. And it is my distinct pleasure because I am a member of the association and I've been in facilitation for many years. So, Kathrina, it is lovely to be so close with you this morning. Welcome, and it's wonderful having you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Wonderful, good. Kathrina, when I looked at your interests and your studies, I saw something about cultural anthropology. I also saw something about education and organizational studies. But the most intriguing thing is how you say that you draw on the collective wisdom of participants in your groups when you're dealing with your colleagues and your clients. You help them to build strong relationships and ensure meaningful, actionable outcomes. And I'm sure every leader wants that. So I'm going to invite you in now to talk to leaders about how they can do that with their employees and their team members.
Okay. Thank you, Georgia and Emily. So I think that I'm going to start with, and I don't know if it's mine uniquely, but my definition of engagement.
Uh,
And leaders are always looking for how can we engage our staff more? How can we help them to be more productive through engagement? Because it's engagement that really captures their attention and intrigues them and gives them the desire to produce the results that you as a leader need to have produced. So
Mhm.
my definition of engagement is quite simple. And as I said, it may not be mine uniquely, but certainly with the studies that I've done in organizational studies, so really studying leadership effectiveness, my definition, I'm keeping you on the edge, is plain and simple. It's involvement.
Mm.
So the way that you engage people, whether you are facilitating a process, whether you are walking them through an exercise, or whether you are wanting them to be the most effective that they can be in the work that they are doing, is to involve them. Involve
Mm-hmm.
them in the decision making, involve them in the work that they're doing, involve them in the problem solving, involve them in every possible way. But that doesn't just come naturally. And it doesn't come naturally to both sides. It doesn't come naturally to leaders. It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't tend to, I should say, it doesn't tend to come naturally to leaders. And it
Yes.
doesn't tend to come naturally to staff or the people that you are leading. And so it takes real intention to do it. And the
Mm-hmm.
reason I say it doesn't come naturally often to leaders is because leaders are often promoted because they're experts in what they do. They are
Yes.
promoted because they were the best that they could be in the job that they are doing. So they have
Mm-hmm.
all of this expertise that staff look to them to make decisions, to solve problems. And so it
Mm-hmm.
takes a real effort to say, when somebody comes to you for a decision or to solve a problem, for you to say, well, what would you do? And it's as
Mm-hmm.
simple as that in many ways. And that's the beginning of the facilitative approach, in my opinion, is to now defer your decision making. But it goes
Mm-hmm.
much, much further than that, because we know that leadership, effective leadership, really involves reflection. It involves reflection from the leader's perspective, but also from the staff and the team that you are leading, their perspective. And if the leader doesn't allow for time to step back and reflect, and here's the use of the collective wisdom, and together determine what are the problems that we have, how do we
Mm-hmm.
identify the gaps, and then together come up with the solutions. Because if they are the people who are doing the work, if they are the ones who are on the so-called front line, and it can be front line at any level. It can be at
Right.
a senior leadership level. It can be at a lower management level as well. It can be at any level. If they are the ones doing the work together, they will come up
Mm-hmm.
with the best solutions. And I'm a huge believer in the philosophy of continuous quality improvement by Edwards Deming. Together, they can come up with ideas that they can test to see whether or not they really will result in an improvement. So that means the leader has to allow for the time for groups
Mm-hmm.
to step back and reflect. And I think the best leaders actually facilitate those discussions and those brainstorming opportunities. And that's why I think facilitative leadership is the strongest leadership. But it requires intentionality on the leader's part, but it
Mm-hmm.
also requires kind of training people, training staff to to participate in those discussions and to feel free and safe, to that they can bring forward problems, they can bring forward solutions, and those ideas are valuable. I'll stop there just in case you have any other questions.
Yes.
But
Katrina, that is fantastic. But listen to what I'm saying now. I am a busy executive. I'm putting
Mhm.
myself in the space of a busy executive. The competition is getting ahead of me. I don't have time. I know the answers for my team. Why should I use facilitation? That's going to hold me back. Talk to me.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so the philosophy with facilitation, from my perspective, got to say my perspective, because facilitators come in all sorts of different sizes and shapes and everything else, and with different philosophies. But from my perspective, the whole philosophy of facilitation is that generally it takes longer. It takes
Mm-hmm.
longer to facilitate an approach, but that collective wisdom that you draw upon generally results in more effective and long-term sustainable solutions, because you're
Mm-hmm.
going to the core. It's almost like a root cause analysis. You're going to where the actual issue is, not solving just symptoms. And so
Mm-hmm.
often we as leaders are just putting band-aid solutions because we're doing a knee-jerk kind of
Yeah.
solution approach. And we love it.
Yes.
It's our favorite thing to do. Come to me with a
It
problem
feels
and
it
I will.
feels it feels like we're getting things done so quickly, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah,
feels
and we
so
love
like,
it. It's like boom, boom,
yeah.
boom, boom, boom. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but as a busy executive, and I think that you do need to weigh, when is it that you can, and this is where you need to be proactive. There are times when
Mm.
you do need to make those quick decisions. That's a
Mm-hmm.
reality. But there are also opportunities when you can think ahead, and I would say probably start with the planning process, when you can think ahead and at the beginning of the year, whatever that is for you, take those times with your teams, those who directly report to you. So that's who I would say are your teams. And
Right.
I would say take that time, build the time in going
Mm-hmm.
forward in the year where you do a brainstorm and a day long session and identifying where are our issues, where
Yes.
are our gaps, and now start to think together, take one at a time. Which one can we address? So, as often, and this, if you're a busy executive and you don't have the time to do the facilitation yourself, although I would say it's something that you should start to build into your priorities as a leader because it
Yes.
really is hugely effective when you do
Mhm.
it yourself. But if you
Mm-hmm.
can't, that's when you can bring in an external facilitator to do that discussion. But that means that what comes out of those discussions, if you haven't been there, you better support them,
Yes.
because otherwise they'll never. Your staff will never bring forward those suggestions again.
Yeah.
So either support them and allow them to test them, and that's the key, or don't even go into that sort of
Yeah.
arena.
Love that response. Emily?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is so, there are so many things you already said, Katrina. And I think, as a leader listening, you spoke about the intentionality
Yes.
and, of course, the word involvement.
Aha.
And Georgia brought anything where, we have to, as leaders, again, be patient
Mhm.
to allow that process to build.
Mm-hmm.
I think you also mentioned two things. Well, one thing that's also very important, which is that it's not natural always for leaders because we know, we tend to know, as you said, it's usually the person or the people leading teams are experts or they've been there, they have a lot of experience, um, they understand more, quote unquote, potentially than their team does. However, um, by I guess thinking that way, that we know more than you, it really does prevent us from harnessing that
Yeah.
collective wisdom
That
that you mentioned.
collective wisdom.
And I
Yes.
think it's the patience. It's, sometimes, Georgia, we also mentioned, a little bit ego, because we do feel good when we get things done
Yeah.
really
Oh
quick.
yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like
An
short term.
adrenaline rush.
Yeah, yeah. It's like the short term satisfaction for going the long term,
Yes.
better potential, better outcomes. And I think that involvement is good because I think a lot of times people don't feel the engagement of their team. They don't feel that they are giving or participating or wanting to pu- push their ideas forward. And I think
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's a subtle underlying feeling that, if I speak up or if I share, it is really not um, taken
Mhm.
as good ideas, or, it's kind of cut down
Yeah.
as opposed to,
Yeah.
as you say, allowed to sort of be looked at, explored, experimented with in a
Mm-hmm.
sense to see if the idea can actually work or not. So there's
Mm-hmm.
so many nuggets there that you've already said, Katrina, that I just, just listening to you, the potential issues that can come, and
Mhm.
also the
Yes.
things leaders can think about if they want a richer experience from their teams.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Emily,
yeah.
I think we should give her an opportunity now, just in case, Katrina, you can think of any situation that you have seen facilitation really work and made an impact on a team or a group.
Yeah, no, sure. I mean, I kind of pilot tested it with the group I
Uh-huh.
was leading at one point in time, and decided I would. That was when I really got involved in it, and that group was amazing in that they were patient with me as I was trying to sort of walk the talk of what I was preaching because I was
Mhm.
delivering training on it and then leading a team as well, and the advantage of really taking the time out to reflect and facilitate your team through a process, and
Mhm.
doing it on a regular ongoing basis so that you're following up because it doesn't mean just letting go. You can't let go as a leader. It does mean setting up the structure, and that's what I did with the group that I was leading, and I was leading a group of learning specialists. So we were always trying to improve how we were delivering and developing learning training programs and so on. and how we could be more responsive for our clients as well. And so what I found was the more I took the time to take them out of the work that they were doing, to walk them
Mhm.
through those discussions, those brainstorms, and actually using structured facilitated processes. So in at the time, I was working a lot with Lean, which is a continuous quality improvement process where we look at different kinds of waste and how to eliminate them, that
Mhm.
waste, and then how to put into place processes that will work more efficiently, but always kind
Mhm.
of client centered. That was in a nutshell. I gave you kind of a lean introduction, but that was the process I was facilitating, and my true belief was that the best ideas come from the people who do the work, and that's
Yes.
where that collective wisdom comes from. And the more I facilitated and kept my mouth shut, which is hard because I'm a talker and I'm a leader and a decision maker, the more I kept my mouth shut, the more actively they became involved. And then my job became just following up with them. So what have you done? What have you put into
Right.
place? What is the data that you've collected to indicate that the improvements you've put into place actually resulted, or the changes you put into place actually resulted in an improvement? And so
Mhm.
I was the scheduler and the, kind of well, the word that I like to use isn't really a nice word, but it's kind of the whip to say where,
Yes.
where are we in it, and making sure and following up with them. And it reached a point where when I brought them together to have the discussions, they would actually say, "It's okay, you can leave. We've got this.
Mhm.
Let us have
Nice.
these discussions." And all I had done was put the structured processes into place for them to walk through. They got to know those processes really well, and to me, that was the highest compliment
Mhm.
because,
Mhm.
um, it meant, well, first of all, they were happy for me not to interfere, that was great, and I wasn't botching anything by interfering, but also, it meant that they were truly engaged, and everything
Mhm.
that they were doing, they were invested in, and so the results, this became one of the highest performing teams in the organization. And I don't know if it was a result of that or just it's about letting go.
Yes.
And it really is that you let go, but I'm a firm believer in structure, that you have to
Okay.
put the structured processes into place so that there is this sandbox within which they can operate, but there's a structured approach
Mhm.
so that they have steps that they can follow. And yeah, no, that was a pretty amazing result working with that team. But you do, as a leader, have to sort of not be sensitive, I think is
Yes.
the word, because you want a really well-oiled machine, and that means that once you've got that well-oiled machine where they are looking at how can they do things better and what can we do to improve, we don't need Katrina, we don't need our
Yeah.
manager or our leader. What can we do? That means you as a leader need to now be looking at what are the next projects I need to be focused on
Mhm.
so that I give them the freedom and the autonomy to continue the work they're doing, and I check in. I'm always
Yes.
checking in. I know where they're at. I know, where I ask them, "What do you need me to do? What will
Right.
my position get, benefit? How will it benefit you? And tell
Mhm.
me what you need from me in order to move forward."
Yeah.
Right. Is
That's an
there any
awesome
roadblock that
example.
you need to clear for them?
And that's
Yeah.
our job. What are the
Yes.
roadblocks? How can we clear those for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That's an awesome example. I mean, I suppose, in terms of when things worked, from a leader's perspective, that can feel very unsettling because I think some of us we just like to know more.
Mhm.
It's difficult, as you say. It's a I guess it's the balancing act of letting go and having enough information and
Yes. Not
they
losing
that's
control.
defining, not losing control. So
Mhm.
defining that sandbox in which they are operating in and ensuring that you're getting the outputs, the
Yes.
results, the information, and and quickly enough the information, especially as to when or if things are not going according to plan, so
Mhm.
that if your involvement is needed or you are, to get back involved, or if there's a if when things are not working as they should, how to prevent something feeling, as you say, Georgia, out of
Mhm.
of
Yes, yes.
isolated. So I
You know,
think I think it's that balancing act that may prevent some of us from feeling like we can allow the facilitation.
yes. You
Well,
know, this is Leadership 101, Katrina. What I was going to say is that lots of our viewers and listeners are in Latin America and the Caribbean. And so, if you were to speak directly to them, what are opportunities that they can learn facilitation? I know there are conferences all over. Talk to us about any that's
mhm.
maybe in our neighborhood.
There is one in your neighborhood. There's one in your neighborhood coming up fast and furiously. The Conference of the Americas that's being hosted by a team representing Latin America, the Caribbean, North America, and South America. And they are hosting a conference, an International Association of Facilitators conference in Monterrey, Mexico, from April 30th to May 2nd, I believe, are the exact dates. And so there is an opportunity for you to learn about facilitation, not necessarily facilitative leadership specifically, but facilitation. So giving you the skills of how to facilitate, because
Right.
facilitation is about structure. So in many ways, Emily, referring to the what you spoke about, I pretty much know, and I lead a number of teams with different organizations. I pretty much know what everybody's working on. And that's because part of the structure is the reporting and the accountability that I have. So,
Right.
although I think you would probably hear from the people that I lead that I give quite a lot of autonomy, I also have a really structured reporting system. So I sit in on their operational meetings to hear where they are. I don't tend to sit in anymore. After I've done kind of the training of that reflection activity, I don't tend to sit in on their brainstorming and reflection and what can we improve and I don't sit on those meetings, but I do get the up to date, where are we and where do we need your
Right.
involvement? And then I have direct one-on-one structured meetings. So they follow the same process every 1 or 2 weeks or once a month, depending on what the urgency is, with my direct reports. So I know exactly what they're up to. So
Right.
generally, the boards that I report to, I can pretty much tell them exactly where we are. And I think that's really important that leaders are still involved. I also do want to give a plug. I just had to give that little but last bit, but I do want to give a plug for International Association of Facilitators, because that's just one conference. We have many around the world. We have one coming up in China in the fall. We have in the fall, so that's in October or November for those of you who aren't necessarily in Canada where I am with those seasons. We have one in Australia around the same time. We have one in Africa in August. I'm hoping I'm not missing any. I think those are the main ones right now. But if you go onto our website, International Association of Facilitators, you'll also see that we have a lot of events. And being a member of International Association of Facilitators gives you access to a number of different tools as well, through Session Lab, to help you produce agendas and structured processes. So it's a really wonderful organization to be part of. Although I'm the executive director, I became a member of IAF in 2015 when I wanted to become a certified professional facilitator. So we also certify facilitators, and that has been invaluable for me because I've always kind of continued facilitation whenever I'm doing other work as well, and because I want to keep my skills up,
Yes.
and so that's been valuable. But Monterrey,
Wonderful.
Mexico, April
Yes.
30th.
So,
In our
Join us
neighborhood.
there. I'll be there. I'll be there.
You'll be
So,
there. All right. That's
yeah,
our
yeah.
opportunity.
a
Emily, to
nice way
see
to meet,
her. Yes.
a nice way to
Opportunity.
do an in real life meeting.
Right. And that's a nice way to just bring the show to a close. So, Emily, how do you close this one?
Yeah, so well, I just want to say thank you so much, Katrina. This has been a wonderful. I mean, I said it was going to be wonderful, and I think you delivered the wonderfulness.
Aw,
Yeah,
thanks.
it was, because you broke it down to make it easy. We said this was going to be a guide for leaders in terms of facilitation, a guide for leaders to facilitate. And I think, the nuggets you left is the the points at which people can start asking themselves the questions around,
Mhm.
am I facilitating? What do I need to learn? If I agree with what Kathrina is saying, or if I want some of the results that she's explained that is possible from from becoming more of a facilitator, we also offered some tools, so we could start. Well, there is the conference, as you mentioned,
Mhm.
but we could also start by simply going on their website thinking about becoming a member or looking at whatever resources might be there, and exploring what is possible for you as a leader to become better. And that's the name of the game, right? We all want to just always be improving, just that 1%, right? That 1%.
Yeah. Yeah.
Every single day? I can't remember if it's every day or every week, but every time you check, a 1%.
It's the openness to it,
Yes,
to learning and growing. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
It was a
So
pleasure, Katrina.
yeah, so
Oh, thank you so
thank you,
much.
Katrina. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I hope you guys do some of those calls to action, and maybe one of us will see you in Mexico. Who knows?
Yeah.
Yes.
Join us.
Wonderful. Thank you
Thank
so much. Have a great week, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.